I rise like the sun sometimes, but then I fall. Like a black moon, I rise when the night falls. When the night falls, the mic calls. So listen, it's the ultraviolet rays that keep me rising on the mission.
What up, hype beast? Welcome to Exceed the Hype. It's your boy Lucrecio, and I'm about to jump into beast mode because it's grind time all summer long. Alright, so today we're about to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks, man. The Milwaukee Bucks had a pretty disappointing season, all in all. They fired Jason Kidd halfway through the season, and then they had a pretty early knockout in the playoffs this year. Now, they did go against the Boston Celtics or whatever, who are solid and who are playing good in the playoffs currently. Ultimately, considering that they traded for Eric Bledsoe halfway through the season, and, you know, it just nothing really worked out the way they thought it would this season. So, ultimately, it was a disappointing season. Right now, the Bucks are in the process of hiring either Mike Budenholzer or Messina, the assistant from the Spurs, or whatever, as their head coach. Okay, personally, I think they will lean towards Budenholzer because he has the experience. Remember, if you don't remember, Mike Budenholzer, he was the coach of the Atlanta Hawks, including the team. I know the Hawks have been bad recently, but including the team in 2015 that won 60 games. Ultimately, the Cavs swept them in the playoffs, but it don't matter. They won 60 games, and they played very, very good basketball that year. So he has had, you know, some success in the NBA, and I think he's ultimately going to be the guy who they go for with that job. For the Greek Freak needs to develop his outside shooting game. I mean, this is obvious, but it's a glaring weakness, and I don't think he can move forward as a player unless he develops an outside shot. So they need a head coach who's really into development, because it's not even just Greek Freak needs to work. He needs to get better shooting. He needs to get a lot better shooting, mid-range and long range. But he really just needs to be able to shoot outside the lane. I mean, because it's kind of easy to cut. As athletic and as awesome as he is, when you get to the playoffs, if they were able to, you know, regulate LeBron and make LeBron early on ineffective in the playoffs or in the finals just by crowding the paint, you better believe they can do that to the Greek Freak. So he needs to figure out that jump shot. Absolutely. The coach, whoever they choose to be the coach, he really needs to be a teacher and somebody who can develop talent, because they have another guy who really needs development, and that is Thon Maker. Thon Maker. The Bucks need to figure out exactly what they have in Thon Maker, exactly what type of player they want him to be and what he can be, and they need to maximize that, because as of now, like, everybody's still trying to figure out, is he going to be a 7-footer who shoots threes and, you know, tries to be mobile or whatever? Is he going to be a shot blocker? What is he going to be? Like, his inconsistency, in my opinion, is partly because they don't have a defined role for him. If they had a defined role for him, I feel like he'd be able to fill a role at least. Okay, but he's wildly inconsistent because they don't know what to do with him. They need to figure out how they want him to play. They need to figure out what he can do, and they need to figure out a happy medium between the two and get him playing that role, or, you know, doing what they feel like he can do. But they need to figure that out, because he is ultimately another key to that team. He can't just be another guy. He needs to be a key to that team. The whole thing about this team is that they're long athletic freaks, all of them. Even people like Chris Middleton, all these people have long wingspans and can do different stuff. They can defend, they can shoot threes, they can handle the ball. You know, they have a point guard who's like 6'6". They have a lot of different stuff. They have a lot of athletic freaks on this team. So this team should ultimately be better. So Mike Budenholzer needs to figure out how to develop this young talent on this team. And I believe he can do it because, like I said, he has a season where he won 60-win seasons in the NBA do not come easy, right? And he has one of them, all right? They need to make a decision on Mr. Eric Bledsoe. Now, Eric Bledsoe came midway through the season with a trade with the Phoenix Suns. He played good immediately after he came, but then, you know, it started to kind of fade off as the season went on. And in the playoffs, he just got embarrassed by Terry Rozier, and it was just kind of a big joke. The whole beginning of the playoffs, it was just a bad look. Eric Bledsoe is one of those guys who I feel like is living off of reputation. I feel like he had the reputation of being like a dog on defense and a defensive point guard stopper, somebody who can guard the elite point guards in the NBA and all, and this and that. Somebody who can be your lead playmaker and somebody who can shoot 40% from three. Which, I mean, some of that may be true, but I think he has a reputation that is much bigger than his game at this point in his career. Because the last seasons with Phoenix, it was a bad team, and he wasn't playing that well. And then he comes to Milwaukee, and he has a golden opportunity, and it just doesn't go right. So Milwaukee will need to figure out what they want to do with him. He only has this next season on contract, and he's an unrestricted free agent. So whether or not they want to keep him, or whether or not they want to let him keep him for the season and let him walk, or whether they want to trade him. But they have to make a decision on whether he's in their long-term plans or not, because hiring a new coach with the Greek Freak, with Thon Maker, with Chris Middleton, with the guys you have, I feel like they're pushing for the future. There were people who thought Milwaukee would be the dominant team in the East going forward, and up to this point, they have not been that. They have not really shown us anything tangible that could lead us to thinking that they are going to be that. So that's another thing for them to figure out. Dennis Schroder is somebody who has gone on record. Dennis Schroder is the point guard for the Atlanta Hawks. He has gone on record saying he would either like to be the point guard for the Pacers, who don't currently have a point guard. They start Collison right now, and Collison is a career backup. He's pretty good, but he's a career backup point guard. He's saying he wants to go to Indiana or Milwaukee. Obviously, if they pursue him, then that means Eric Bledsoe's out the door, and then Collison and Budenholzer have a relationship because that was his point guard. Even when they had Jeff Teague, it always seems like the idea was that they were trying to ease Jeff Teague on out of there and get Dennis Schroder as the point guard. So Dennis Schroder is Budenholzer's point guard, right? So don't be surprised if you see a trade happening or somehow Dennis Schroder ends up with the Milwaukee Bucks and Eric Bledsoe ends up sliding right on out of there. Another decision that the Milwaukee Bucks have to make is on Jabari Parker. Jabari Parker is a restricted free agent this year. Okay, so his days with Milwaukee can be over. He has not really been able to produce anything substantial for them since he was drafted. Remember, he was drafted. He was hurt with an ACL the next season. He came back. He wasn't really healthy. He got injured again, was out for a long time. And then he came back towards the playoffs this year. He played. It wasn't that effective. I can't see Milwaukee really being that interested in re-signing him, especially not to no significant money. So I definitely see him walking, but we'll ultimately see what happens with Jabari Parker. That's going to be another decision that they have to make. I do think they will allow Jabari Parker to walk, though, and they may regret it later because I do think Jabari Parker has talent. I do think he can help out an NBA team a lot, right? So, but keep an eye on Jabari Parker's situation. But yeah, Milwaukee has a lot to figure out in a short period of time with the draft approaching. And, free agency in the summer, whatever, they have to construct what they want to do. Because remember, up to this point, this was Jason Kidd's vision. His whole team was Jason Kidd's vision. He had, a lot of front office power, and then he was the coach. So the way they crafted talent, the way they drafted, the way they traded for people, it was all based on Jason Kidd, right? Now a new coach is coming in there, somebody else to lead the organization. It's going to be very interesting if they keep the same collection of talent or if they break it up and try to create a team in a different fashion and build the team differently around the Greek Freak. But yeah, ultimately, those are some keys for the Milwaukee Bucks to think about heading into the offseason, seeing that this was a pretty disappointing season. Leave your comments below, all you Milwaukee fans. Let me know what you think the keys for your team this offseason are and how we can get this Milwaukee team to the next level. All right. As always, we grinding all summer long. It's grind time. Hit that sub button, hit the like button, whatever. All right. See you next time.